Welcome to the Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. This podcast is dedicated to providing the key ingredients to transform your employees into a dream team, creating consistent results in every aspect of your business, including your people, your process, and your profits. Your team empowerment, leadership, business development, communication, hiring, and firing. As some of the country's leading staffing and management consultants, we help business owners, i.e. entrepreneurs, and the team that support them, what we call intrapreneurs, to powerfully connect and work together to grow the business. Welcome to another episode of the award-winning Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. And if you're a first-time listener, hopefully you'll become a long-time listener. As always, I'm your show host, Molly McGrath, and you can check us out at hiringandempowering.com. And this is new for our podcast. We are going to be offering a Tuesday transformational tool. And this week is our very first tool that we're going to be launching. So I'm so excited to have my guest today, Roslyn Cassidy, the founder of Digital Social Strategists. For over 27 years in the legal arena, Roslyn has a tremendous amount of legal marketing experience, in particular, digital marketing, strategic planning, marketing research, database marketing, website promotion, company branding, and business development, with the ability and skill set to provide creative, innovative, enthusiastic, and forward-thinking leadership in a team environment. And I really want to highlight that piece, team environment. I've worked closely with Roz for, 20-some years. Back in 1997, we met at a national legal conference in the hallway. She was working for an estate and elder law attorney in Riverside, California, and I was working for the national organization based here in Denver, Colorado. And Roslyn and I have become the best of friends. We have worked together in 5 national organizations over the past, we're so dating ourselves.
Oh my gosh. It's been so fun.
We're 20 years old too.
Yes.
And so Roz and I have worked 100% in the legal space, as many of our returning listeners know. And Roz, I just have to say, welcome. I am so excited for today's little fireside chat we're going to have.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Yes.
I love all that you do and the difference you make. Excited to be here.
Thank you. Well, a little secret, I would not be where I am today with Hiring and Empowering Solutions without Roz, because when we really made the decision about 3-5 years ago to put full force into hiring and empowering, Roslyn took her little goldfish and came with me and supported me with all things social media when we were throwing everything against the wall to see what would stick. And I can tell you it stuck, and I'm so grateful for you.
My gosh. I could say the same thing, Molly. I just would not be where I am today without you. It's been such a fun journey. We've learned so much along the way, and I would not be sitting here with my own company, my own business without you by my side. So we've helped each other. Yes, it's been fun.
And we've only just begun.
I'm saying, yes.
So today's topic, I am so excited because this is something that Roz and I, our phones ring off the hook, our emails blow up, our texts blow up in regards to today's theme and today's topic. We're going to talk about what to do when you have no money or people to do the marketing, to do the law firm legal marketing. And this is something that we have heard for many, many years with the law firms that we have coached, consulted over the years in regards to all things marketing and team development. And I think what I'd like to really do, Roz, is to kick this off is, why don't you give our listeners today some context about your backstory of the legal space and where you started out and how you can really resonate with working in a law firm that has very limited resources, especially in the cash and the people perspective. And tell us a little bit about how you got on this journey.
Yeah, you bet. So I started off working at a really big insurance defense firm here in Riverside, California. And I started off as the receptionist, and I climbed the ladder over about 10-year period of time to working for the managing partner of the firm. And so I was kind of in the legal arena, raised in a big firm that had a lot of money. So by the time I got to working for the managing partner, I had somebody to do everything for me, literally manage my calendar and his calendar and make photocopies and fix my phone and all of these things. So anyways, while I was there, one of the attorneys ended up going out on her own, and she had asked me to come with her. And I said she was going to start her own practice, and I loved her. We had a really good friendship and worked together through those 10 years. And I told her, I said, I'll do it if you'll let me work part-time so I can finish my degree. Because during all that time, I was working on getting my bachelor's degree. And so she said, all right, I'm leaving. I'll call you when I'm ready, when I can hire you. And she called me about 9 months later and said, I'm ready. So I was excited, and I just took this leap of faith because I thought, really, I can work for her part-time, and I can, finish my degree, and this is a win-win. And I really believed in her and all that she was, and she wore her heart on her sleeve. So I joined her, and she started, her estate planning, elder law practice. And I went from having somebody doing everything for me to literally, I remember one of the days I was answering the phones and the copy machine jammed, and somebody walked in the door, and I was literally like on my hands and knees getting paper out of the copy machine. And I looked up, and, we had clients there, and I had to kind of compose myself. And I was thinking to myself, what have I done? Holy smokes. What did I get myself into? And so, it was interesting, and it was really tough. We ended up growing her estate and elder law practice to just her and I, renting a little cubicle from another attorney to her getting her own space and 5 other people with our team and reaching goal. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy in any way, shape, or form, because when I first started working with her, I was doing everything. I was answering the phone. I was, drafting the trusts. I was driving the calendar, sending out the confirming letters, everything. Jamming the copy machine, answering the phone. So it wasn't easy. By any means, it was not easy. It took a tremendous amount of intentionality and a tremendous amount of, times where we were uber focused on what we wanted and the vision for that practice to kind of make that happen. So about 7 years later, I remember sitting there with her thinking, holy smokes, we did this. We grew your practice to, reaching your goal. And we have 5 other people that are on our team. So
I will never forget that. And how Roz and I had met is I was part of a national coaching company for estate planning attorneys across the country. And every quarter, the coachees would shut down and bring their team into a conference, and we would spend an all day, sometimes 2 days or 3 days, working on their business. And I will never forget, at first it was just you and Suzanne and you all, like you said, it wasn't easy, and it also wasn't pretty because there are many times where you guys were there just saying, oh my goodness, how are we going to make rent? How are we going to pay the bills? Just scrambling around all the things that cause entrepreneurs to sweat. And you were treating it like your own business because you took a massive leap. I mean, at that point you had 2 boys, and now you have 3 boys, and it had to work. Going back wasn't an option for you. So you were treating it like it was your own. And I remember sitting there saying, it's just the 2 of us. Well, we need the phone to ring. We need leads, we need clients, but we also have to be able to run in the back and make the donuts and deliver on the product as well. And we spend our last dollars on airplane tickets to get here. So we don't have any money.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there we had a national coach or probably 77 other law firms in that room. And I would say at least 60% were raising their hands and they're like, me too. Me too. Like, how do we make this work? So I remember that day of a lot of tears, a lot of anxiety, uncertainty, all the things that we butt up against when we're ready to break through. You know, you and I always talk about this. Behind every breakdown is a breakthrough. And I do remember that conversation. We were all sitting there eating lunch together, and you and Suzanne just sweating buckets and saying, we don't know. Do we throw in the towel? How do we make this work? But something's got to shift. Something's got to change. And I remember Steve saying, you can choose to move through this and move through your day and move through the rest of this building your practice with a tremendous amount of chaos and adrenaline and anxiety, or you can choose to move through it with a tremendous amount of unwavering discipline and pig-headed determination. And the quote that you always hear me quoting from Steve, who was one of my greatest mentors, was there's two kinds of suffering, long-term and short-term. You choose. And he said, and I'm goosebump from head to toe because I remember that. And the look on your face and Suzanne and you all exchanging eyes across the table, and you're like, he's absolutely right. So we can feel defeated before our feet even hit the ground, or we can feel victorious. Which one is it going to be? And from there, you guys chose inspired action. You chose pig-headed determination, discipline, and intentionality. And from there, we started building, okay, you don't have any additional money. You don't have any additional people. What are you going to do to make what you do have work to get you the results that you want to? And so talk to us a little bit about going back and being the receptionist. And you know that feeling, Roz. You get on the plane, you're done with the conference, you're sitting waiting for your airplane to take off. You're equally exhausted and fried because you just worked so hard on business building, strategic planning, marketing plans, money, process, people, all that jazz. And, you know, in customary fashion, you sit down at the hotel or the airport bar and you have a drink and you decompress and you debrief and you're so excited. And you start talking about your notes and you're both cutting each other off. You're like, and then we're going to, and then we're going to, and then we're going to, and oh my God, wait until we do this. And then you get back to the office and then all hell breaks loose and it's Groundhog Day again. But this time there was one point when it was different for you guys, what took you from the place of the two of you where you're on your hands and knees unjamming the copier while the client's pulling in to sign their trust that you have to reprint, or to building a team of 5 and reaching goal. What would you say for our listeners today in spirit of our theme, what to do when you have no money or people to do the marketing? What was the 2 millimeter shift? What was the difference from that conference versus the 900 other ones that you went to every 90 days that caused you to make that shift?
Yeah, good question. Really good question. And I'm gonna say that it was probably a build up of every single time that we would come back, I would make one small thing different or one small thing additional happen with where we wanted to be. And what I found was interesting is the more that I did that, the more that it gave us the space. It opened up kind of the space for the conversation. So I'll just kind of give you an example of what I mean with all that. So I remember coming back so many times and us violating, our time template and being frustrated with that. but a fresh new kind of fire in my belly around making it happen. So it gets frustrating when you keep doing that. And then, it sticks for 1 week, one time, and then it just sticks for 2. And then it goes back to 1, and then it goes to 3, and you're all over the map around it. So I just remember so many times thinking, all right, we have to go back to basics. And so I'm going to continue to, drive the nail into this piece of it that is, a time template. And I'm going to also implement something else. Maybe it be, the team meeting agenda or what have you. So I don't think it was ever one aha moment or one thing. It was literally a build up and consistency and pig-headed determination that we're going to do this. And it's so funny. I remember telling our team, because our team meetings kept getting tabled, no matter what, even if she doesn't come in and meet with us, we're going in. Mm-hmm. We're going in and we're going to make it happen. And I remember this day so vividly. She came in, she's like, what the hell is everybody doing just sitting in the conference room? She was like, why are, and I said, we're having a team meeting. We're going to have a team meeting with or without you. So, it's just, it just means even if you are, going away to a corporate event, a quarterly team meeting, what have you, just always walking back away from that with that fire in your belly, the shot in your arm, whatever it takes to get you to continue to push and focus and drive. I really think that that's the key, because then it just kind of starts building. It gives itself momentum. And I think that's really the key. I don't think it's one magic bullet. I don't think it's one aha moment. I think it's just continuing to make sure that you're intentional.
I love that. And one thing I wrote down here is that it starts with declaration, meaning this is going to work and we're going to have unwavering faith that we are accepting and tolerating nothing but, and fill in the blank, X amount of leads a week, X amount of conversion percentages. So the second piece of that is a declaration that we're doing this and we're no longer choosing chaos and adrenaline rush and white knuckling and hair on fire days. We're going to plan our work and work our plan. So it was a declaration, and then it was the discipline. And I love what you said, the building blocks. So the tool that you anchored to, and again, you will have the tools all in the show notes here. So this is about Transformational Tuesday tool. And so the time template. So it's almost like you've got to start where you are. So your discipline was building a time template. We're going to have a weekly marketing meeting. Even if she doesn't show up, we're in the conference room. And eventually she's going to notice that we're showing up. You cannot show up week 1. You can not show up week 2. You could show up week 3 all pissed off and saying, why are people just sitting around? We have billable hours. But we're showing up here. So if you're the one who doesn't want to show up, then so be it. We're still putting our heart and soul into this business. And what I love about that is that eventually, I tell people this all the time, get to the meeting. You have no idea what you're talking about. The first week you're staring at each other, you're chit-chatting, and you might just be winging it. And you had a great meeting and maybe a few action items after, and then you leave. And then the next week you experience it. And then eventually you're like, all right, we need an agenda for this thing. Like we need to get some structure around this. So what I love, and I know this about your firm, it was building blocks. And I remember coaching your firm because you left that event and saying to your attorney, I am holding your feet to your dreams in spite of you. I'm going to be your production cop. I'm going to be your professional nag. And you gave me the permission, the responsibility, and now the authority to do that. You told me this is what you want. You want consistent cash flow. You want a consistent calendar full, and you want to be able to get the phone to ring, even though you don't know how the hell we're going to do it because we don't have the money, or we have all the strategy in the world, but the strategy doesn't mean anything if we're not intentionally implementing it.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's so important to declare that and get their permission to give you the freedom to do that. And then I think what is so powerful for me in all of that is really it's an honor, because when you do that, you're taking the entrepreneur out of the weeds, and they shouldn't be there. And if you let them, they're going to continue to do it. It's their safety place. It's a comfortable place for them. You have to have that uncomfortable conversation where you're pushing them and holding their feet to the fire. And really, truly, they'll thank you for it, because you are truly pulling them out of the weeds, because they'll sit there behind their desk and they'll draft, or they'll make stuff happen, and they'll work on their calendar and answer a million emails, things that they should not be doing necessarily when they're supposed to be doing it. So I say that because when I look back on it, I didn't realize that what I was doing was, pulling her out of the weeds, pulling her out of the business. Every time I did that, I was pulling her out of the business. I was pulling her out of whatever seat she was sitting in that she wasn't supposed to be.
Well, yeah. And I love that because, hindsight's always, but that's why we're here on this podcast. Because when you and I were prepping for this, I said, let's break it down. How exactly can a law firm, what did you do to be able to be the receptionist still, but also switch your hat and be the term that we now use, marketing coordinator? I don't think we called it that back then, possibly, but you pulling her out of the weeds. And what I love about that is when you did catch her, there's one way to do that, doing a stop restart and reminding them, okay, you're not supposed to be doing that, but you can only do that so long, right? There also has to be discipline around that. And the greatest way for discipline is to have accountability and consequences, i.e. a schedule. So going back to the time template, you hardwired that 1 hour marketing meeting every single week. And first time it looks like people coffee clutching in a conference room. But next thing you know, within 3-4 weeks, you're running it like an agenda, and you're at the whiteboard, and you're walking out with a strategic roadmap. You're walking out with next actions, deadlines, things of that nature. So as you said, it evolves and it grows. But what I love about the pulling out of the weeds was scheduling those marketing activities that you needed her to do. So we call them power partner meetings, going out in the community, meeting with potential power partners, referral sources, etc. So when you have that hardwired, just as much like a client meeting, you're not going to ditch a client meeting if it's on the calendar because somebody's expecting you to show up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I think that everything that you said right there is really kind of the recipe. You said so many things that I actually have written down. And it's kind of this step process that is start with where you are. And it doesn't have to be big. It can start with, all right, we're going to have a meeting. And it, like you said, it's a coffee clutch. And then it starts, with there. And then you're having a conversation about something that you're going to do. And then the next time you have the whiteboard out. So starting with wherever you are is key. Don't beat yourself up and don't think that you're going to start from, this big, beautiful business plan. It's not going to happen that way. And then intentionality, being very, very intentional and declaring and owning what you're going to do and taking responsibility for it. And then having that accountability. And I'll just share a little success story that just popped up for me with a conversation that I had with one of my clients this week is, she's stuck. She's like, I don't have time. It's just her, 2 attorneys. She's just in a place of overwhelm. And I'm like, okay, look, here's what you're going to do between now and our call in 2 weeks. And the first time I was like, it's just going to be an accountability call. And the first time she showed up and she just asked a question. She's like, I tried to start it, but I didn't even know where to go. So I said, no problem. You know what? This is going to be a short call. Here's everything that you need. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. I showed up for the call 2 weeks later, and she says to me, I really didn't do a whole lot, but, and then she gave me everything I asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that wasn't even, I'm like, don't, I go, just stop and let's like celebrate right now, because you made it seem as though it wasn't that big of a deal, but you just gave us everything we need to implement step 1 of this marketing plan that we had kind of talked about. So the accountability was a big, she saw that this was going to be on the calendar. I'm going to have to talk to her in a few weeks. So I better get this done. And we were able to then take that information and really start putting pen to paper and mapping out everything that we were going to do for a digital arm launch that we were marketing. So it's big, and it can make a huge difference when you just start with where you are.
I love that, because Roz, you just said 2 things that were really huge. Number one, what I love the most about what you do with your clients now, and that you've done with every law firm and organization that you've worked with, is that you break it down into bite-sized chunks, but you make sure you're not going to say, oh, write me a check. I'm going to be able to do the sun, the moon, the stars, everything for you. I'm going to be able to transform your whole practice. You always start with, tell me where you're at and what you realistically can do and who on your team can support you. And you take the time to make sure that they have a Roz, if you will. First and foremost, you're like, just give me the best person based on their Colby, what have you. Don't worry about, they don't need a marketing degree. They don't need anything fancy. I just need somebody who will give me, and you and I broke this down, about 8 hours a week. If you give me somebody who could free up 8 hours a week, don't worry about what they're doing. Don't worry about their marketing background. We'll make it work, because it comes down to intentionality, tracking and measurement, and accountability. Mm-hmm. And I love that you say that. The other thing I just really want to highlight is, most often people will say, they get on the phone, and this, you and I've talked about this for, endless hours over the years, where they'll show up and say, all right, how'd your marketing meeting go? Oh, we didn't get to it. A client wanted to come in. We violated it because we wanted to give it to client time because it's a potential check. Oh, great. Did they convert? No, they need to think about it. And time after time, where you're basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, or you're robbing yourself of your future. And so often the biggest, hardest step is dedicated time for that 1 hour marketing meeting every single week with somebody on your team. And right now I'm thinking of 3-5 different firms that I've been working with through the 66-day law firm turnaround. And the first thing that we promise in the deliverables in that 10-week program is getting your marketing department in order, consistent, running like a well-oiled machine without any additional revenue, resources, or people. I have several firms that they keep violating that marketing meeting. I'm like, that's the only thing you have to do, is dedicate that 1 hour. That is the biggest tip and tool to take away from today. And they violate it. But what I love about your client that you just used the example, so often we would get from coaching, I'm going to have to cancel my coaching call today. I didn't get my homework done. How many times did we hear that, Roz?
Oh my gosh, so many times. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's ridiculous. And I love what you're saying, is that even if you did a 1 hour marketing meeting and you started the conversation, that in and of itself is going to be so powerful. But I think what people do is they look at it and they're like, they think of it like it's going to be frustrating. It's going to be overwhelming. What are we going to talk about? Like, I love that you said, start with where you are. And I have that on my notes too, because it's so huge. You just have to start with where you are. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be hard, but you have to start somewhere. Even if you show up on the call and say, I didn't do my homework, right? We can work with that. We can say why.
Yeah. Yeah. And, or like you did with your client, okay, show up. I didn't get my homework, but, and there, when, there's a saying, when you say, but, it erases everything before. So all that shame that you had about, I didn't do my homework is negated because what the but is where the win, that's where the results, where you said time out. Let's celebrate this. But same thing when people would try to ditch their calls because they didn't do their homework, Roz and I would be like, nope, show it, just show up. Don't worry. We are not all about shame coaching where we're going to beat you, take you out to the wood chipper out back and just, belittle you. No, what we would do is we'd say, great, how about we do a mock marketing meeting right now? How about we just experience it? Let's pull out the agenda, which again, this is a tool that we're going to have here this week is a marketing meeting agenda with the time template down in the show notes. But we would mock it and they would experience it. And an hour later, next thing you know, it's almost like riding a bike. You got to get on the bike, you got to fall off, you got to fumble. But then when you have that exhilaration, you're able to go 2-3 blocks and not fall off. Next thing you know, you're riding a bike. So they would experience that. So we would say, just show up. So the accountability team members, if you're listening to this, my coin phrase here is going to be a Roz. Sit in that conference room. If it's just you and the attorney and it's every Monday, let's say at 8 a.m., you're doing your marketing meeting, I would go stand at their door and say, our marketing meeting is starting right now. I would meet in the conference room and they're still screwing around on the listserv or with their email or whatever distraction they have. Go walk in there and sit at their desk. Lena used to do that to Steve all the time. Our marketing meeting is beginning now. And just bully them if you have to.
If you get up and go and sit in the conference room and you're not at your computer, they're going to come in there. They're going to come in there and they're going to join you because they just feel like it's a waste of time if not. And they need to know what's going on, right? They start to get a little bit of FOMO. They're like, holy smokes, what are they talking about in there? And I'm not a part of it. So if you get in there and you do it, they're going to show up.
But here's the key. You for them to show up the next week, you have to make it fun and exciting. Most entrepreneurs, if they'll talk about the future, they'll talk about marketing, they'll talk about ideation and activation and maximizing all day long. You have to have an agenda, a copy of an agenda for everyone. You have to keep on track. You have to talk about KPIs. You have to talk about ROIs. You have to talk about strategy. It can't be a giant brain puke, a brain dump, or else they'll walk out feeling good. But when they're looking at the calendar and they're not remembering, oh yeah, we're going to do this direct mail drop, or we're going to do this Facebook ad drop, or whatever strategy you're doing, if they can't anchor it to an activity that they know is in production and has been deployed, then they're going to stop showing up and stop having faith that this isn't going to become just a big brainstorming session that's actually ran like a strategy session.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that. You have to have it, and you have to have it to circle back around too, because they'll kind of maybe go off onto something else as you guys are sitting there talking about, content. They'll start, talking about legalese, and then you can use your agenda as your crutch to say, okay, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to take notes on that, but item number 2 on the agenda is this, and we have 20 minutes left, so let's hit that next. Mm-hmm. So I love the agenda because it really helps you get what you need in that meeting so you can walk away and do what you need to do.
And so going back to when you don't have a big team to call a marketing department, if you will, Roz, how much time would you say between being the receptionist? I know you're doing bookkeeping. You're also being the project manager, and especially as your firm got to 5, you still didn't have a dedicated marketing person. How much time would you say for our listeners that are listening today, regardless of their firm size, that do not have a consistent marketing strategy meeting department, if you will, how much time a week would you say you could dedicate to growing your firm from you and Suzanne in a cubicle to a team of 5 that is reaching goal?
Honestly, I'm going to say you can do that in 5. I'm going to say if you started with 5 hours a week, 1 hour a day, you would make such a huge difference. And like when I say start with where you are, I'm saying, like, let's say you took 1 hour a day and you just posted a value bomb on social media. That could take 1 hour a day, right? Or I'm going to look at my list of follow-up people and I'm going to make however many calls I can make on here in the next hour. So every single day you spent even just 1 hour was where you started with, and then you took that into a marketing meeting. Everything you got out of that, it would grow and build from there. Ideally 8 hours, but I mean, if that's overwhelming and you just did 1 hour a day, it would be huge.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I'm even thinking of another tool that you and I created way back when, that entrepreneurial marketing support sheet, which is just like the cliff notes, the highlights for when an attorney's out meeting with power partners, doing presentations, just so they could just jot down notes and hand it to their assistant. That 5 hours a week, 1 hour a week, let's just say Mondays, you're doing your marketing meeting. Then you have 1 hour a week where you're scheduling out events. Like you said, you might schedule out all your posts for the week on the social platforms with, to use your term, the value bombs. You might do 1 hour a week for scheduling new opportunities, whether they be private presentations, lunch and learns, BNI, whatever it might be. Then you're doing 1 hour a week for follow-up calls for all the people that they met with in regards to, they might have had a lunch and learn, they might have had a golf outing, things of that nature. And then I would say 1 hour a week for database management, where you're updating so you can have consistent marketing reports to run your reports for your referral sources, look at the calendar, and just manage the data. Because at the end of the day, the calendar dictates how your cash flow and your opportunities go, right?
Yeah. I love that. That's perfect. If you just started off with that, it would be huge. It would be absolutely huge. And imagine if you did that and then you scheduled your marketing meeting with your attorney and then you sat down with them and you kind of told them everything that came out of that. And
yes.
you could start from there. Okay, so now let's start tracking our analytics from the value bombs. Okay, how many people did you book out of the people that you followed up with? That sort of thing. Now let's look at the database. Can we pull analytics from there and look at our conversion rates? I mean, even taking just a piece of every one of those things from 1 hour and building on that would be huge.
I would assert, I mean, just knowing your world, knowing what your firm looked like and coaching your firm, just even that 5 hours a week could 5X your firm like it did for you, Roz.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all that we could do at the time.
Yes. And it was more than enough. And even as you grew and even as you started reaching goal, then you started in reinvesting, I would say, in some of the digital and socials. It was becoming more prominent in direct mail and some other things. But again, you always had that marketing meeting where you were measuring and you were making certain that you got the ROI and you were keeping an eye on it. So eventually your 5 hours might have expanded into like 6, where you're just paying attention and running the reports on all the marketing initiatives and running the cost per conversion and making certain what's successful and what needs to be killed.
Yeah, absolutely. And you start to see what that is. It shows up like magic. I had no idea when I started doing that. And I'm just going to speak specifically to where I was, but I had no idea when I was doing that the only thing that I needed to do in the long run was get her out from behind her desk and in front of people, because her conversion rates were ridiculous. She was 85, 90% on her conversion rate. So I would have never known that if I didn't just start with that 5 hours a week of, I don't even know where to start. I'm just going to start throwing things on the wall and we're just going to start having conversations about it. And then in the end, I was like, holy smokes, we got to get you out of the office. We got to get you out of your office, and you're going to be in the conference room 4 days a week meeting with clients. You're going to be doing workshops. You're going to be meeting with referral partners. That's your number one job. That's it. And then, we hired somebody to do the backstage stuff, but it will show itself. It's like magic. It will show up, but you have to start doing it.
You know what I love about that is how comforting, entrepreneurs, attorneys always say, I just wish somebody had my back. I wish somebody was paying attention to the numbers, to the calendar, to the business, so I can have confidence to let go. We're always accused of being control freaks. Nothing's ever good enough. Micromanagers, pick your term of the day that you want to label on your attorney. They don't want to be that person. They don't want to show up like that, but they feel like they have to because they're so deathly afraid if they do leave the office and go on a golf outing or what have you, they feel like they're quote unquote not working, and or they're going to come back to a pile of ashes or a line in the parking lot of upset, furious clients and referral sources. So what I love about what you did, Roz, the strategic byproduct of 5Xing the business, is I would assert more important and attractive to a business owner is that you had raw data and you could say, this is your conversion rate. This is your unique ability. This is your 80%. And every second you are bothering me, tinkering around with wealth docs and wanting to draft another freaking trust, then you have X amount of dollars, which is our average case value at stake. So can you please see that if you allow me, I promise, we got your back. We'll give you the reporting. You do have to show up in that conference room now on Monday mornings to get the information. That's your only job, but I need you to be out there with people. You're in the personal service industry, and I have proof of concept. It's your 80%. Stop drafting documents and please get out there and talk to people.
See how powerful, just if you start, I love that. It's so true. They stop white knuckling when you can start showing up with that kind of stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's how you have to speak to an entrepreneur team members here that are listening is in numbers, in data versus just this esoteric, information. When you can come to them and show them the numbers don't lie, here's what it's saying, you are, and to fill up their confidence tank, because let's be honest, as entrepreneurs we need that. We don't have it all figured out. We're getting our ass kicked all day every day, upside every which way, everywhere we turn. We walk out of the bathroom, there's a line of people looking to us for solutions and answers. We walk into the conference room, it's like being on a rock and roll stage 24/7 where you're constantly performing and you just want to be able to run backstage and have a soft place to land. And if you can be that person like Roz has been for every single entrepreneur she has worked for and for her clients that she works for, because she understands when she's getting on the phone call with the law firm that is saying, okay, can you help us with our marketing plan and our budget forecasting? We don't know what to do. We got 74 emails from all these legal marketing experts that are just going to transform our practice. Roz is the person that will sit down with you and say, let's unpack everything, your people, your process, and your money and your budget, and what realistically, attorney, what time you can devote to this right now, and where your roadblocks are, and where we can just free up 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 2 hours here for each person to set you up for long-term success without ripping you out of your comfort zone, number one, and making you do things that are not within your natural ability, which shows up inauthentic, number one. But number two, allowing your team to step up because they want to. They're silently wishing that you would just let go of control.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Great. I love this, Roz. So I know we went a little long, and you and I can we can talk till 2 a.m. about this. Not like we haven't done that 100 times, but yeah. But I love this. It's actually not the tool of the week. It is 4 tools of the week, talking about the time template, talking about the weekly marketing meeting agenda that is truly ran like a board of directors meeting. We talked about a suggestive marketing plan and really being brutally honest with yourself in regards to what you can commit to from a time and money and a people perspective. And then the fourth one we threw in here at the 11th hour was the entrepreneurial marketing sheet that Roslyn and I had created many years ago, just a cheat sheet for your attorney to be able to brain dump all the things they took away from every community and one-on-one interaction that they have with potential power partners and referral sources. So all those tools will be in the show notes for you today. And Roz, I just cannot thank you enough for joining me today. And it's really great to take a walk down memory lane and to hear where you started. And yeah, I forgot it brought me back to that day in Tampa with you and Suzanne when you guys were at your wits' end. How you just pulled up your bootstraps and you decided to burn the boats on chaos and anxiety and uncertainty and claim your future. And I've seen you do that over and over and over again for law firms across the country.
And I think that's the key. The key is that piece of it is you have to do it over and over and over again. And I can't tell you, I appreciate you so much. I remember calling you saying, holy smokes, we're on our way there and we don't have a penny in the bank.
Yeah.
And having that, and we still showed up and had that brutal conversation, feeling like we were failing. So it was so huge. Thank you for supporting us through that. And you just you doing the same thing over and over and over again, being a stand for that turnaround is huge.
That's why I get out of bed in the morning. I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. So tell our listeners how they can stay connected with you and learn a little bit more about you and Digital Social Strategist.
Yeah. So you can submit on my website. It's Digital Social Strategist. I know it's really long, but digitalsocialstrategist.com. And there's a way that you can book a call with me on there. There's a link that you can book a call. Follow me on Facebook and connect with me on LinkedIn. Just go to the website and you can find me there. You can pick up the phone. All my contact information is right there.
Yep. And we will have all of your social channels in addition to a link to your website to book that complimentary discovery call with you in the bottom in the show notes. So thank you for joining us today, Roslyn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.